Imagine the safest place you know, your own bedroom, tucked under warm blankets, surrounded by the people who mean everything to you. Now picture that safety shattering an instant. A stranger's hand clamps over your mouth. A cold weapon presses against you, and just like that, you're torn from everything familiar. This is the true story of Sophia Rivera, a 14-year-old girl from Boise, Idaho, whose abduction on the night of August 12, 2004, gripped the nation and became one of the most intensely followed missing child cases of its time. But beyond the kidnapping itself, this is a profound tale of endurance, unshakable family love, quiet inner strength, and the will to hold on to hope against overwhelming darkness. Before we dive in, if this story resonates with you or you're new here, please consider liking the video, sharing it with anyone who could draw inspiration from tales of human resilience, and subscribing for more thoughtful, respectful deep dives into real-life stories of survival. Now let's step back to how it all started. Sophia Marie Rivera was born on April 5, 1990, the third of 5 children in a tight-knit, faith-centered Catholic family. Her parents, Miguel and Elena Rivera, raised their kids in a peaceful, tree-lined neighborhood in the north end of Boise, with views stretching toward the Boise foothills. The Riveras were known for their kindness, strong community ties, and deep devotion. Sunday Mass, family dinners with homemade tamales, board games, guitar strumming, and weekend hikes, these were the rhythms of their life. Sophia, called Sophie by her loved ones, was a gentle, bright, and compassionate girl. She had a warm laugh, a curiosity about the world, and a genuine gift for playing the violin, which she practiced faithfully. She was especially close to her younger brother, Mateo, who was 10 at the time. The two shared a room where they'd whisper late into the night about school adventures, favorite books, dreams for the future, and silly family jokes. Home felt secure, routine, and overflowing with affection. Yet even in this haven, a fleeting encounter the year before would change everything. In the summer of 2003, the Riveras hired a handyman for some fence repairs and yard maintenance. A man named Victor approached them, offering his help. He introduced himself as Victor Hale, dressed plainly, spoke quietly about faith and redemption, and carried an air of calm certainty. Elena, always open to helping those in need, hired him for a couple of days to fix the fence and clear overgrown brush. He worked efficiently, said little, and left without fanfare. The family didn't think much of it after. They had no idea this man, later revealed as Victor Harlan, had studied their home's layout, noted their habits, and begun planning something sinister. As summer faded into 2004, Sophia was excited for what came next. She was wrapping up her final year of middle school, thrilled about high school, and proud of her recent violin recital awards. On the evening of August 11th, the family attended a school awards night. Sophia received several recognitions. It was a happy evening. They got home late, exhausted but content, and everyone headed to bed as usual. Sophia and Mateo settled into their shared room. It was cozy, posters of favorite bands on the walls, books stacked on shelves, a soft lamp glowing. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet under a starry Idaho sky. Like many in their community, the Riveras didn't always lock every door at night. Just before 3, and on August 12, 2004, a shadow slipped through the side yard. The man carefully sliced a small opening in a screened window off the kitchen, climbed in silently. He knew the house. He'd been there before. Upstairs, he entered the kids' bedroom. Mateo woke first to faint footsteps, a hushed voice. Terrified, he froze, pretending to sleep. Through slitted eyes, he glimpsed a dark figure over his sister's bed. The man wore dark clothes, face shadowed, holding what looked like a knife or gun in the low light. He leaned over Sophia and whispered, "Get up quietly. Come with me, or I'll hurt you and everyone in this house." Sophia stirred in panic and confusion. She felt the blade's edge. Ow! she murmured as she bumped her knee climbing out. "Quiet," he snapped. Mateo lay paralyzed, heart hammering. Too scared to move or cry out, fearing the man would turn on him. In frozen silence, he watched the intruder guide Sophia out, down the stairs, and through the back door. Barefoot in her pajamas, Sophia was forced to walk miles through rough, dark foothills, up rocky trails toward the rugged terrain outside Boise. The ground tore at her feet, branches scraped her skin. She trembled, tears falling silently, praying this was just a terrible dream. But it wasn't. After a grueling hike of several miles, they reached a concealed camp hidden among dense pines. A woman waited there, Harlan's partner, Clara Voss. She eyed Sophia with icy indifference. Victor spoke in a measured, ritualistic voice. He called himself a divine messenger named Isaiah, claiming heavenly instructions to take Sophia as part of his sacred purpose. In the shadows, he forced a bizarre ceremony, making her repeat vows she could barely process. From that moment, Sophia's long ordeal began, a nightmare of isolation, deprivation, repeated violations, and relentless manipulation. They chained her ankle to a heavy stake. They claimed her family thought she was dead. They insisted the world had moved on. They urged her to embrace this as divine fate. Sophia was cold, hungry, terrified, but something inside her held firm. She pictured her parents' faces, her siblings' laughter, the feel of her violin strings, the comfort of home. She clung to her real faith, not the warped version Harlan forced. Over and over, she told herself, "I will make it through. I will get back to them." As morning light filtered through the trees, Sophia heard distant call searchers shouting her name. Helicopters thrummed overhead. Her family had woken to horror and were already rallying everyone they knew. They refused to believe she was lost forever, but for now, she remained hidden in the wilderness. Alone yet somehow still anchored by hope. As the first rays of sun rose over the Boise foothills on August 12, 2004, the Rivera household erupted into chaos. Mateo, trembling and barely able to speak, ran to his parents' room and told them everything he could remember: the dark figure, the whispered threats, the way the man led Sophia away barefoot into the night. Miguel and Elena were awake in seconds, disbelief turning to terror. They checked her bed empty, sheets still warm. A quick search of the house confirmed it. The cut screen in the kitchen window was the only sign of forced entry. Police arrived within minutes. Officers found the precise cut in the screen, but no fingerprints, no obvious DNA, no note demanding ransom, just an untouched room and a devastated family. Word traveled like wildfire through the North End neighborhood. By mid-morning, news helicopters circled overhead. Reporters gathered outside the modest two-story home. The Boise Police Department, with support from the Idaho State Police and FBI, launched one of the largest search operations the state had ever seen. The local chapter of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children helped coordinate volunteers. A command center was quickly set up at a nearby community center. At its height, thousands of people showed up: daily neighbors, fellow parishioners from St. Mary's Catholic Church, strangers from across Idaho, even college students from Boise State University who carried water and maps. They combed the steep foothills, canyons like Hull's Gulch, Table Rock trails, and beyond, using tracking dogs, horseback teams, ATVs, helicopters, and small planes. Bloodhounds picked up Sophia's scent briefly near the house before it vanished at a nearby road, suggesting a vehicle had been waiting. The community came together in ways no one expected. Local restaurants donated meals, hardware stores supplied flashlights and gloves, coffee shops printed flyers by the thousands. Posters bearing Sophia's most recent school photo, her warm smile, dark hair tied back. Violin and hand-covered lampposts, store windows, and highways across Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. The family created SophiaRivera.org almost immediately. a simple but effective website in 2004 that allowed people to download flyers, submit anonymous tips, and follow daily updates. Miguel and Elena became the public face of the search. On August 13th, just one day later, they appeared on local and national news, voices cracking as they pleaded directly to whoever had taken their daughter. Please bring our Sophie home. She's our light. We love her so much. She's kind, she's talented. She's everything to us. They spoke of her love for violin, her gentle nature, her faith, anything to keep her real and human in people's minds. A $150,000 reward was announced quickly, growing through community donations. Over the following weeks and months, the Riveras stayed visible. They appeared on shows like Dateline, The Early Show, and local Idaho stations, sharing family videos, Sophia playing violin duets with her cousins, laughing during backyard barbecues, helping her little brother with homework. These moments kept the public emotionally invested, and the pressure on authorities intense. Investigators followed thousands of leads, over 12,000 tips in the first 9 months. Every reported sighting, every vague rumor, every suspicious vehicle was chased down. Early suspicion landed on several people who had done work around the Rivera home, including landscapers and repairmen. One name stood out for a while, a former contractor named Daniel Crow, who had a record of petty theft and substance issues. He was questioned aggressively and briefly named a person of interest in the media, but he denied any involvement and passed early polygraphs. He later died in an unrelated accident in late 2004. The trail seemed to cool, and the family grew frustrated, believing the spotlight on Crow pulled focus from other possibilities. Other leads surfaced. A delivery driver reported seeing a suspicious van near the neighborhood days before the abduction. A man fitting a vague description was spotted in nearby Caldwell, but cleared after investigation. Hundreds were interviewed, but many tips fizzled. As summer turned to fall, the daily volunteer searches scaled back, though the family's determination never wavered. They publicly questioned the pace of the investigation and pushed for more transparency. One agonizing near miss happened in September 2004 at a busy Boise public library. Victor Harlan, Clara Voss, and Sophia, disguised in long robes, head coverings, and wigs, entered to use the computers and get supplies. A librarian grew uneasy about the silent, veiled girl and quietly alerted a detective who happened to be nearby. The officer approached and asked questions. Harlan calmly explained that the girl was his daughter Grace, part of their religious community and not allowed to show her face or speak to strangers. Sophia stood motionless, heart pounding with a flicker of hope, but threats against her family kept her silent. Clara held her arm tightly. The detective, seeing no clear signs of distress and no immediate crime in progress, let them go after a brief check. Sophia later described it as the closest she came to being rescued in those early months. There were other close calls. The trio occasionally appeared in public for food or small errands, always heavily disguised. Sometimes people stared, but no one made the connection to the missing girl from Boise. In late summer, Harlan even tried breaking into a nearby home for supplies, but fled when a dog barked. As winter neared, Harlan and Voss grew bolder and relocated the group south to remote areas near the Nevada border, then briefly into parts of California, moving between hidden campsites and surviving on minimal resources. Sophia, still veiled and restrained when necessary, appeared in public occasionally but remained unrecognized. Back in Boise, frustration built. The family kept pressing for progress. Then, in December 2004, Mateo, after months of quiet reflection and nightmares, had a breakthrough. He realized the intruder's voice and mannerisms matched the handyman who had called himself Victor Hale and worked on their fence the previous summer. He described the man in detail to police, who created a composite sketch based on his memory. The police hesitated to release it publicly, fearing it might alert the suspect or contaminate future identification. The Riveras strongly disagreed. They believed every day mattered. After persistent urging, in mid-February 2005, the family released the sketch themselves during a tearful press conference. It aired on America's Most Wanted and spread quickly across networks and online forums. Tips flooded in. Relatives and acquaintances of Victor Harlan recognized the drawing. The circle began to tighten. Meanwhile, deep in remote camps and during their moves, Sophia endured the unimaginable. Harlan and Voss kept her shackled when they feared escape, fed her barely enough to survive, and moved her frequently to avoid detection. Harlan continued his obsessive preaching about a divine calling, subjecting her to repeated abuse and psychological domination. Voss participated in the control and manipulation. Sophia held on to tiny acts of resistance, silent prayers, in her heart, replaying memories of her family's voices, the melody of her violin. She repeated to herself, "They're still searching. They love me. I won't give up." Sophia began to sense that staying in the wilderness forever wasn't sustainable. Harlan talked of relocating far away, perhaps to a big city on the East Coast. Carefully choosing her words, Sophia suggested that if his mission was truly important, it needed to be completed where it began, in the Boise area, near the spiritual roots he claimed. Surprisingly, Harlan, caught in his own delusions, agreed. In late February 2005, the three hitchhiked and walked back toward Idaho. They arrived in the Treasure Valley region, still disguised. Sophia wore heavy robes, a head covering, dark glasses, and often a wig to conceal her identity. They camped in out-of-the-way spots but ventured into towns for food and necessities. The composite sketch the Rivera family released on February 15, 2005, had been broadcast widely, including a high-profile segment on America's Most Wanted. The image was circulating everywhere. On the afternoon of March 18, 2005, the group was walking along a busy stretch of overland road near the Boise suburb of Meridian. Two separate people recognized them almost simultaneously. One was a woman running errands who had seen the sketch repeatedly on local news. The calm, distinctive face and simple clothing matched perfectly. She called 911 immediately. Minutes later, another driver pulled over and did the same after spotting the trio. Police responded quickly. Officers approached calmly. Harlan and Voss remained quiet while Sophia, still veiled, was asked basic questions. At first, she repeated the name her captors had forced on her, Grace Harlan, and said she was their daughter. But the officers noticed inconsistencies and gently separated the three for individual questioning at the Meridian Police Department, once away from Harlan and Voss. In a quiet interview room, an officer asked Sophia softly if she was okay, and if she was really who they thought she might be. The fear that had kept her silent for so long finally lifted. She looked up and said simply, "My name is Sophia Rivera. I've been missing since August." The room went still. Within moments, confirmation came through fingerprints and photos. Sophia Rivera alive and safe after 219 days was found. The news spread like lightning. Miguel received a frantic call from police. "Come to the Meridian station right now." No other details, just get here. He drove faster than he ever had in his life. When he walked through the door and saw his daughter, time stopped. They fell into each other's arms, sobbing, laughing, unable to speak. Elena arrived soon after, followed by Mateo and the rest of the family. Hugs, tears, disbelief melting into pure joy. For the first time in over 7 months, Sophia was truly home. The story exploded across every news outlet. Missing Idaho teen found alive. People who had prayed, searched, donated, and followed the case for months celebrated in the streets. Churches held vigils of thanksgiving. Strangers embraced outside the family home. In the days that followed, Sophia began the long road to healing. She watched old family videos, read thousands of cards and letters from supporters, picked up her violin again, and played simple melodies. She celebrated a belated 15th birthday surrounded by cake, balloons, and every sibling fighting over who got the biggest piece. With her family, she even hiked back to one of the foothill campsites, a quiet, powerful act of reclaiming the space that once imprisoned her. Victor Harlan and Clara Voss were arrested on the spot and charged with aggravated kidnapping, sexual abuse of a minor, burglary, and related felonies. The legal process stretched over years. Harlan insisted he was a prophet acting under divine orders. His defense claimed religious delusion and insanity. Competency evaluations dragged from 2005 through 2011, with repeated findings of incompetence due to his courtroom behavior, singing hymns, refusing treatment, and making erratic statements. Clara Voss cooperated more readily. In 2009, she accepted a plea deal on federal charges, receiving a 12-year sentence with credit for time served. She was paroled in 2016 after serving roughly the required portion and placed on lifelong sex offender registration. Finally, in early 2011, Harlan was deemed competent. The federal trial began later that year. Sophia testified over several grueling days, recounting the abduction, captivity, and abuse with remarkable poise and clarity. She looked directly at Harlan as she spoke, describing the threats, the manipulations, the violations, helping secure a conviction. On December 15, 2011, the jury found Victor Harlan guilty of kidnapping, unlawful transportation of a minor, and sexual exploitation. In May 2012, he was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms without parole. He remains in federal prison today. Sophia emerged from the trial not broken, but strengthened. She began speaking publicly about survival, faith, and hope. In 2006, she gave her first major interview, sharing her experience with grace and honesty. She advocated before state lawmakers for stronger child protection measures and improvements to emergency alert systems. In 2012, she founded the Sophia Rivera Foundation, focused on preventing child abduction and sexual violence, supporting survivors, and teaching safety and empowerment. Through the foundation, she launched programs like Strong Voices for self-defense and confidence building, workshops, often in partnership with local law enforcement, safe talks for schools on healthy boundaries and recognizing danger, and survivor circles to give survivors platforms to share and heal. The organization has grown, offering resources for teens facing relationship abuse and collaborating on national campaigns against exploitation. Sophia has written 2 books, My Voice, 2014, and Holding the Light, 2019, sharing lessons on forgiveness, resilience, and choosing joy after trauma. She has produced documentaries and specials highlighting other survivors' stories. She became an occasional contributor to news networks, focusing attention on missing children cases. Today, in 2026, Sophia is married to Daniel Torres, a compassionate man she met during her university years. They have 2 young children, a daughter, Lucia, born 2018, and a son, Mateo, born 2021, named after her brother. The family lives quietly in the Boise foothills, surrounded by the mountains that once represented fear but now symbolize peace and homecoming. Sophia often says the greatest miracle was the day she was found. It reminded me that good can win, that love is stronger than darkness. She tells her children age-appropriate versions of her story, emphasizing strength and safety without instilling fear. I want them to know they are loved, capable, and never alone. She has shared. Her message remains simple and powerful. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become every single day. The night of August 12, 2004, shattered a family's world. But March 18, 2005, proved that persistence, community, faith, and unbreakable love can pull someone back from the abyss. Sophia Rivera's story reminds us that even in the longest night, light can break through. As we end this telling, remember, stories like hers call us to stay watchful, kind, and hopeful. If this moved you, if it reminded you of the strength inside all of us, please share with someone who needs a spark of inspiration, and subscribe for more respectful, heartfelt true stories of survival and hope. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay connected, and never stop believing in the power of light.